What is up, you guys? It is Jazz. Almost 7 months ago now, I started a new job working in a juvenile detention center, more commonly referred to in the public as a juvie. But if we want to put it in simple terms, I basically work in a jail for children. Today's video is going to be a Q&A where I'm basically just dedicating the whole video to answering the most common questions I get working in this role. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, you guys. Okay, so one of the most common questions I get since starting to work in a kids jail is that kids jails actually exist. Like, people will ask me that because, myself included, before I started working in this area, I didn't really realize what the word juvie meant. And I think a lot of the public really doesn't. So we'll commonly in the US hear these facilities referred to as juvie. You may also hear them referred to as juvenile detention, youth detention, juvenile hall, juvenile corrections, all of these different words. But when you get down to the bread and butter of it, basically they're all just jails for children. And yes, they do exist. In fact, over 1,000 of them exist in our country. So if you were to average that out, that would be over 20 juvies per state, which is kind of crazy to think about. Did you start working in the jail as a new grad? No, I did not start working in my jail as a new grad. This is my second nursing job. My first nursing job, I worked in a COVID testing lab. I got into correctional nursing because at my first nursing job, I met a nurse who worked PRN in one of the facilities also out here in the Las Vegas area. And so that was kind of like my personal into the field. I kind of just had a chit chat with her one day about what it's like, and she really thought that I would be someone who would be a great candidate for this type of a role. That was kind of the main thing that I guess sparked my interest and turned me more onto correctional nursing, because correctional nursing had always been something that I kind of kept in the back of my mind as something I might like to try. What is it like working in a kids jail? Honestly, you guys, every day is unique. I'll say that's the number one word that comes to mind is unique, because it's just a unique experience that these children are going through. It's a unique environment to both be living in if you are detained there or working in, like myself, and you just meet very unique people while you're there. So I would say that's the first thing that comes to mind, is it's a very unique experience. I would also say that it's a very eye-opening experience, getting to work within the correctional system day in and day out as your everyday job. It really starts to kind of just open your eyes to a lot of things. I would also say that it's very comedic. I get tons of laughs in at my job every day. And honestly, for me, I would say it's a very personally fulfilling job. Like, I do feel like I'm making a difference in my kids' lives while I'm at work, and that really means a lot to me. So I would say it's also a very fulfilling job for sure. Can you have your phone? Yes. Luckily and very thankfully, I'm very thankful for this, but in my facility, I am allowed to have my phone. Both our medical and non-medical staff, we're all allowed to have our phones, and everyone kind of pretty much just keeps their personal phone on them, which, like I said, I'm very thankful for, because there are a lot of correctional facilities where you can't even bring a phone into the buildings. So yes, I am allowed to have my phone, and I do bring my phone with me into work every day. What are your roles and responsibilities? My main roles would be the PM Med Pass, triaging sick call slips, starting medication orders based on professional nursing protocols that are available to us in my facility, setting appointments with the providers for those kids who do need that, processing new intakes that come into the facility, responding to unit calls as needed, and then just kind of a bunch of random other tasks as well. What is your schedule like? So myself personally, I do work 3/12s and I work night shift. However, there are also some nurses at my facility that work 5/8s, and this probably varies a lot from facility to facility and company to company. So it really probably just depends on where you end up working. You could work 3/12s, could work 5/8s. Some facilities may also have 4/10s, so it kind of just depends. How much do you get paid? So starting out, my rate was $40 an hour, and then I do work night shift, so I have a $2 differential on top of that every night that I work. So I just say that I make $42 an hour because all of my shifts are night shift, so I always have that $2 differential. So I make $42 an hour. How old are the kids? At my facility, we start accepting children at the age of 10. There are also, I think, 3 more serious crimes that if the children are 8 or 9 and they're charged with any of those 3 crimes, they can be detained as early as 8 as well. I don't remember all 3 off the top of my head, but I know one, we are probably thinking the obvious one would be a murder charge. So if an 8 or 9-year-old was charged with murder, they could be detained in our facility. Other than that, the minimum age would be 10, and then we pretty much go up to 17 because once kids are 18, they are now considered adult, so they can be, entered into the adult system. I would say most of my kids are around like 13 to 17 years old. What did the kids do? So just like an adult facility or any other correctional facility, these kids are all there for varying reasons. They all are individuals. They all have different stories. They all kind of did different things. However, a lot of the most common charges I will see will be domestic violence or battery charges, different assault charges. I do also see a lot of weapons charges. So just like juveniles carrying weapons, juveniles with weapons with tampered serial numbers, things along that nature. Another common one would be like robbery or theft charges, different vehicle charges like possession of stolen vehicle, possession of drugs, drug charges, things along that nature. Pretty much the same type of things that you would see with adults. Oh, and then of course, good old violation of probation and parole is a common one as well. How many kids get arrested every day or every night at your facility? So as you can imagine, every day is different, but for the most part, I would say for one full day, usually there'd be anywhere between like 5 to 15 to 20-ish kids that are arrested. However, not all of the kids that are arrested are actually going to be detained and staying in our facility. Some kids are arrested and they're non-detained, which that just means that they're going to be held in the booking area for a short period of time and then released to go back home. Then there are the kids that are going to be detained, which are going to be basically moving into the back into a housing unit and staying with us for a little bit longer of a time. Kids who are detained could still end up being there for only a few days. Some kids that are detained in my facility have been there for over 1.5 years, 2 years. And then obviously you have everything all in between. And typically on any given day, there are more kids who are arrested and non-detained who will just be held and released after a short period of time than there are who are fully detained. What is your relationship like with these kids? I have so much love for these kids. I take it as a great honor that I get to show up and be one of the people that day in and day out is consistent in their life and make sure that they know that I care about them. I'm pretty no nonsense with my kids. I think I've done a great job at establishing myself as someone who they know cares, and I goof around with them, I joke with them, but they also need to know that above all, respect is what I expect from them and what I will show to them. So I think a lot of my kids pretty much know that I'm very loving, but I'm also no nonsense, and if you mess around, you will hear what I have to say. And I am not afraid to embarrass you in front of all your little friends in here, so don't get it twisted. And it's like on top of that, I know my kids have my back. I do remember one time there was a situation where this kid, he was just acting a fool, and so, he was hearing what Nurse Jazz had to say, and I just remember the whole room, just from all over the room, I just hear my boys yelling like, "You better not fuck with Nurse Jazz, like don't play with Nurse Jazz, we'll go to war over Nurse Jazz," like my kids will even have my back against each other, if that makes sense. And so it really does go to show like, okay, I've done a good job at establishing my rapport with my kids. What is your relationship like with the COs? So the COs, or the correctional officers, are the names of like the non-medical staff who are kind of in the units with the kids all day long. And let me tell you, I fucking love my COs. Like, I just love the people I work with. My booking staff up front that I'm with most of the night, as well as all of the COs in the back in the units with the kids. I freaking love them, and I know they have my back to the end, okay? Like, the COs, their priority is to make sure that the nurses are safe. And every day when I go into my different units, I do feel safe with my COs, and I'm just so thankful for them, and I feel the love from them all the time, every day. Like, I love getting to see them, talk to them, joke around with them, and just have a good time with them, honestly. Do you feel unsafe? Have you ever been attacked? No, I absolutely do not feel unsafe at my job whatsoever. I feel very comfortable, and I know that even if a situation were to arise where I could potentially be in danger, my coworkers that I work with, the correctional officers, I know that they have my back. And on top of that, if anything were to happen, I am allowed to protect myself. Like, if a child were to try and attack me, I can defend myself. So I'm not the type of person to walk around in fear. And I don't look at my kids like dangerous criminals. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these kids are not violent people. They're not there for violent crimes. And even the kids that are there for violent crimes, like, I'm not afraid of them. They're children, and I have good relationships with them. Like I said, I don't feel unsafe. However, I am not naive to the fact that something could happen. At any point in time, something could happen in my facility. So I do always still stay alert and on guard, but I do not walk around in fear. Definitely not. And no, I have never been attacked. I have never even been in a situation where I felt like in any danger, like something potentially even could escalate to happen to me being attacked. What does it look like inside the jail? Are the kids literally behind bars? So all of the units in my facility have two sides, the A side and the B side. So first you walk into the door to the building. Once you get into that door, you can see into both sides. There's kind of like glass doors / windows that you can see through. In the middle is a little office area. And then behind that will be the children's classrooms, because the children do go to school during the day while in juvie. And then there'll be the A side and the B side. And each side, there's kind of a day room. There's usually a couple tables in there. There is a TV area. There's usually a desk with a computer where the COs can sit, as well as like a phone where the kids will have their phone calls to families. And then around the perimeter of the room is the showers, the bathroom, supervisors' offices, the kitchen. The rest of the perimeter of the room is the kids' rooms. And no, at my facility, they're not actually barred rooms. They are doors that swing open and lock, obviously. And then each door has like a little tall, skinny window that you can see in and out of the room. Then within the room, there's literally a toilet with their little water fountain on top. On the back wall, basically a bunk that comes out from the wall, and then they get mattresses that go on top of that. What do the kids do all day? During the week, the kids do go to school Monday to Friday, like normal school hours. And it's funny because I think honestly a lot of my kids go to school more while they're in juvie than while they're on the outs and free. After that, they'll usually have like playtime, whether that be outside sometimes or inside. There are basketball courts all around the campus. Each unit has a little library of books, so a lot of kids will read books. The correctional officers will also do like activities with them. So sometimes I'll walk into a unit and deadass everyone's doing like a freaking workout together. I've seen them getting ready to play dodgeball in the unit before one time. I've seen the girls painting their nails, braiding each other's hair for Halloween. I've seen them painting pumpkins, just random stuff. So honestly, even though when you probably picture jail, you don't think of it as like a good environment, I feel like the kids honestly do have fun while they're there most days. Like, they get to do stuff that they like to do. They get to listen to music, all that type of stuff. So overall, is jail a fun place to be? No. But I would say that day to day, there are things that the kids get to do every day that offer them like a fun time with each other, because they do build relationships with each other and become friends with each other in there as well. Do the kids get visitation and phone calls? Yes, the kids do get visitation. There's a couple days a week where they are allowed visitation from family members. And yes, they do also get phone calls. Each unit has like scheduled days of the week that they're allowed their phone calls, and based on the kids' like levels, which is basically, you know, where they're placed based on their behavior recently. If you're in a higher level, you get more privileges, and I think you get longer phone calls. Do the kids have work release? No, the kids do not have work release. I don't know if this is the same for all juvenile detention facilities across the country, but I would assume that because they're children, they're not allowed work release. But don't quote me on that. I don't know. All I know is my kids know. They do not leave for work release to go work anywhere outside the facility, and there's no jobs within the facility that they get paid to do. However, they do have chores that they do, and they do earn points for that. They do have like a point system where they get points given and taken away based on behaviors, and that allows them different privileges, allows them to buy like things from the commissary card, etc. Do you ever sedate the children? Now, I don't know what it is, you guys, but people just seem to think that I'm in this jail like just sticking meds in these kids to knock them out. And let me tell you, no, we don't even sedate children at our facility, like not ever once. And even if we did, I'm just kind of confused, because it's just like, it's a common practice in nursing. Like if you were to go to the ER, you could get sedated there, you know what I mean? So I don't know why it would be such a shock that a facility does sedate patients, but ours personally, we do not sedate the children. No, I have never sedated any child in my facility, and we do not sedate any children in our facility. So then how do you deal with unstable psych patients? So in my facility, I am technically contracted just medical, okay? So I am not considered a psych nurse or psych professional in relation to the care of these children. So whenever something psych related happens, we have a whole mental health / psych team that kind of deals with that more directly. And as the nurse, I am just there for medical. However, don't get me wrong, when I do have children who have more psych disorders and are going through a tough time mentally, I do still talk with the children. I'm very comfortable still addressing things like that, but it's not necessarily my responsibility, if that makes sense. I just have to make sure medically that they are okay, that they have not harmed themselves too much that they need to be sent out to the ER to get cleared, and that I feel that they can remain safe staying in the facility. Do you have an infirmary? No, I work in a fairly small facility, and so we do not have an infirmary. If my kids are not well enough to stay in their housing unit, then they are going to get sent out to the ER. So pretty much I'm taking care of relatively stable and healthy patients, which I do really appreciate. I really like not having to be surrounded by sickness every day at work, and getting to be around relatively healthy and energetic people. I think that does make a big difference on myself and, you know, my energy as the nurse. So no infirmary. If needed, they will get sent out to the ER, and they will return when the ER decides that they are able to. What is your least favorite part of your job? How common it is in my role to have to hear about and then obviously report different incidences of sexual assaults that have happened to my children. When the children do come into our facility and they are detained, we do a sexual assault screening on them, which that does entail us asking if they've ever sexually assaulted someone else or if they themselves have been sexually assaulted. I really just don't enjoy that part of my job that much, because it's just sickening how common sexual assault is in this country and in this world. I do take it very seriously, and I am honored that I am someone that they feel that they can trust to share these experiences with, and know that they're not going to be judged or blamed or ridiculed for it in any way. So like I said, while it is kind of one of my least favorite parts of the job, I do take that part of my job very serious, and I do not take it lightly that these children are entrusting me with some of the deepest, most traumatic experiences that they've ever gone through in their life. All right, and finally, you guys, last but not least, we have made it to the last question, and I wanted to end on a good note. So the last question is, what is your favorite part about your job? So if I'm just speaking from like a day-to-day role, what's my favorite role about my job? My favorite part of the day would definitely be med pass, because that's when I get to go out to all the units and I get to see all my kids. I get to see all my other coworkers, the COs, the other staff that are there with the kids. And this is just the most kind of fun part of my night, because I get to interact with all these people that I love to see every day, see how they're doing, and check in with them. So that's definitely kind of just my favorite part of the night. And then I guess just more generally speaking, I would say that hands down, my favorite part of my job is just getting to build relationships with my kids and my coworkers. So there we have it, you guys. We have made it through my whole list of Q&A. If you guys have any other questions that popped up in your mind, please make sure to comment them down below. I would love to answer any other questions you guys have. Maybe potentially just do a part 2 to this video where I answer a bunch more questions that people have for me as a pediatric correctional nurse working in a juvenile detention center. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me out, and make sure to subscribe to my channel so you can come back and hang out with me again and again and again, okay? I really do appreciate the support of every single one of you that clicked on this video, and I appreciate you even more if you stayed all the way till the end and are still watching right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I hope to see you back again soon, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.